You are now watching Demeech.
Mario Golf Super Rush recently released, and to say the least, the game isn't exactly a hole-in-one. What I mean by this? The general consensus is that it's mediocre, with the bland design for golf courses being one of the most common complaints. But the most common complaint I've been seeing is one I saw coming from a mile away, and that's the fact that Mario Golf Super Rush launched with an unsatisfactory amount of content, just like Mario Tennis Aces did. This is easily the biggest issue I have with a lot of Nintendo Switch games, and just the Switch era in general. But why is that? There really aren't too many videos on YouTube covering the topic. Arlo did a video on it, mainly focusing on Kirby Star Allies. Our Primate pal Uncle Al did a video on it, despite me disagreeing with his take on Super Mario Maker 2. And Reese recently did a video covering the issue, but oftentimes, the issue is pretty much non-addressed. You'll hear stuff like, so Animal Crossing is getting a new update, you know they're going for the games as a service thing, so that's cool, moving on, and I've actually seen quite a few people defend the practice, saying that free content updates are what keep players coming back. That has to be one of the most stupid statements I have ever heard. Why? To get to the bottom of the issue, we need to find out where it originated, what games have used this practice, and why it's absolutely awful and one of the worst things Nintendo's been doing. On May 29th, 2015, there wasn't just the biggest amiibo hunt of all time, but Nintendo released Splatoon. That became one of their most popular series, and Splatoon was the first game from Nintendo to use a free content update model. You would get new weapons, stages, and new modes frequently. In my opinion, Splatoon launched with enough content to keep me interested in the game. The free updates were a cool bonus, and for a game like Splatoon, it works and makes sense. Then fast forward a few months, and Nintendo released Super Mario Maker. Super Mario Maker is one of, if not my favorite game on the Wii U, and when the game launched, you had plenty of tools at your disposal to make really cool levels, as well as a ton of cool amiibo costumes. The game also got free DLC updates with new costumes and sometimes new tools. Like with Splatoon, Super Mario Maker launched with an ample amount of content, so it was nice getting more amiibo costumes as well as tools. If done right, the free DLC model is a good thing. As long as the game launches with a good amount of content, then it's all good. But unfortunately, this practice can lead to the slippery slope where the free content updates turn into the fix-it-later approach. ARMS was one of the first Nintendo Switch games launching in the summer of 2017. It looked really cool, but from what I've heard, it severely lacked content at launch, and even to this day lacks content. I haven't played ARMS, but this is what I've heard from many reviewers, and from the games I have played that use this approach, I totally believe it. 2018 was not a fun year to be a Nintendo fan. Most games that released on the Switch that year were ports of Wii U games, and when there were new games, most of the time, they weren't great. As Soshi said, it was essentially, wait for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate the year. I'm a big fan of the Kirby series. The games are just so much fun to play, and have really cool mechanics. When it comes to my favorite Kirby games, they're the Nintendo 3DS games. Kirby Triple Deluxe was an amazing game, and Kirby Planet Robobot is easily the best Kirby game of all time. So when I found out we'd be getting the first HD mainline Kirby game, I was excited. Needless to say, I was pretty disappointed. One of the biggest issues I have with the game is that it's so easy to the point where it's not fun at times. You can have up to 3 allies that essentially do the fighting for you. Honestly, the main game is mediocre. The level design, themes, and most mechanics were nowhere near as cool as what Planet Robobot had to offer. But another problem it had was the lack of content at launch. Kirby games are known to have a lot of content, with collectibles and side modes. Kirby Superstar was advertised as being 8 games in one, and while Star Allies has extra modes, it severely lacked content at launch. The whole game could be 100%ed in 10 hours or less. Then a few months later, Nintendo released a free content update called Heroes in Another Dimension. It's cool and everything, but it definitely should have been in the base game. Kirby Star Allies was underwhelming to say the least, but I didn't feel burned after playing it. No game has ever left me feeling more empty than the next one. The Mario sports games used to be of such high quality. The console games took sports and added a ton of cool mechanics and wacky Mario themed elements, and because the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance couldn't have the same level of depth as the console games, Camelot did something interesting. They decided to make them sports RPGs. All of these games are superb and make something as basic as golf or tennis a blast. so when Mario Tennis Aces was announced and advertised having adventure mode in addition to the great core gameplay, I was very excited to play it. It seemed like the best of both worlds. Needless to say, yet again, I was disappointed. The adventure mode is essentially a collection of minigames and only lasts about 4 to 5 hours. Once you were done with that, there was really nothing to do except play online. But don't worry, Nintendo will do you a solid after you paid $60 to be a beta tester. Mario Tennis Aces was frequently updated. It mainly consisted of new characters every month, but there were occasionally other things. You know how Super Smash Bros. And Mario Kart have stage select screens? Pretty novel concept, right? Well, guess what? Mario Tennis Aces didn't even have that at launch. You had to go into settings, toggle the courses, and manually choose a court in settings. Thank you, Nintendo, for adding in a stage select screen months after the game launched. After all, that's what keeps players interested, right? And most infamously, an opening cutscene was released nearly 1 year after the game released. Remember how high quality the opening cutscenes in Mario Golf Toadstool Tour and Mario Power Tennis were? The animations here are great, but this cutscene specifically has some of the worst and most awkward dubbing I have ever seen in a game. Prime example, if you remember the scene from Mario Power Tennis, that game had a great opening cutscene that made sense. One scene had Wario and Waluigi in Bowser's training room, because I guess he had quite a few coins left after building a clown car and airship. When Waluigi sees Bowser walk, he says, "He whacks funny," and then Wario tells him, "Oh, shut up." In the context of the scene, it made perfect sense. You're not gonna believe this, but they actually used the "he whacks funny" voice clip when they were mining for gold. It made zero sense, and perhaps even worse, the ending has Mario say, "Luigi!" like he did in Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, a Game Boy Advance game released in 2003. It's clear Mario Tennis Aces released unfinished, and is easily the worst example of the fix-it-later approach. Was Mario Tennis Ultra Smash on the Wii U worse? Absolutely, but that's a very low bar to cross, making a game better than Ultra Smash. Camelot and Nintendo are better than this, as they have proved in the past. Animal Crossing New Horizons is one of the most popular games on the Switch. It also released at the absolute perfect time. New Horizons is the first Animal Crossing game that I really got into, and honestly, I really like the game. The customization here is the best the series has to offer, but as much as I love New Horizons, Animal Crossing veterans were upset that it lacked half the content Animal Crossing New Leaf had, which is weird because the game was delayed. The good news is that New Horizons has a lot of replay value, even at launch, for me at least, and I've gotten over 100 hours out of it. Same can't be said for Kirby Star Allies or Mario Tennis Aces, but I totally get where Animal Crossing veterans are coming from, because the features they added from New Leaf should have been there to start with. Why is it that the game on the 3DS, which is way weaker than the Switch, has more content than the game on the Switch? And guess what? This isn't the only case. I talked about Mario sports games before in this video, and to be honest, most of the Mario sports games released within the last decade weren't great. Mario Tennis Open on the 3DS was mediocre, Mario Tennis Aces was disappointing, and Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, well, that speaks for itself. None of those games could hold a candle to the GameCube or even Game Boy entries. You know what's really weird though? Mario Golf World Tour on the 3DS was really great. It's the best Mario Golf game and has the polished and Mario elements from the sports games that they used to be known for. There are many different modes, courses, and characters. I know the game did have paid DLC, but the base game launched with more than enough content to keep me interested, so the DLC was just a nice bonus. And even without the DLC, Mario Golf World Tour has more polish, more content, and more interesting courses than the brand spanking new Mario Golf Super Rush, or should I say, Mario Golf Super Rushed. Mario Golf Super Rush had me wary from the start. After playing Mario Tennis Aces, I wasn't very confident that the game would launch complete, and sadly, I was right. While I didn't buy the game, players have complained that the adventure mode is short once again, and the courses are a bit bland. You can see some subtle references to locations from Mario games, but they all look pretty generic. Not to mention, there's only 7 courses, one which is exclusive to Battle Golf. But don't worry, after paying $60 to be a beta tester, you can play the amazing looking new Donk City course whenever Nintendo decides to release it, because launching a game unfinished and finishing it later is what keeps players reeled in. While Mario Golf Super Rush at least had an opening cutscene and stage select screen, it still is severely lacking. Do you see why this quote-unquote free update model doesn't sit well with me? To be fair, it can be done right. Splatoon 1 and 2 had enough content at launch to keep me interested. Super Mario Maker 2 launch finished, and the new tools and features were great additions. Super Mario Odyssey launch finished as well, and had the new costumes as a nice bonus. And as much crap as Fortnite gets, the game is free to play, and it makes sense to update it with the seasons. Not to mention the base gameplay is excellent. It's not a Nintendo game, but a great example of a games as a service game done right. But most of the time, Nintendo launches these games incomplete and uses this free content update model to finish the game, aka the fix it later approach. Like I said earlier, there are a lot of people defending the practice. They think because it's quote unquote free, it makes it all okay. It's very sneaky marketing, because free usually equates to good. But think of it this way, you go to a pizza restaurant and are excited. You've been craving pizza the whole day, so you order a whole pizza, but instead of the whole pizza, the waiter only gives you 1/3 of a pizza. You're absolutely baffled, and then the waiter says,
"If you come back in the next few months, we'll give you the rest of the pizza free of charge."
Are you gonna come back? No, you won't. You're gonna go to another pizza restaurant that serves full pizza. So essentially, the game equivalent of this is that if a game launches incomplete and you get it day one, you'll get bored of it, move on to other games, and maybe never play the game again. Those sour first impressions linger for me at least, and don't encourage me to go back. I ended up selling Mario Tennis Aces and Kirby Star Allies simply because I knew I would never go back to them. That statement I said earlier where the guy was saying these free content updates keep players coming back is absolutely not the case if the game launches unfinished. Do you know why the Mario sports games from the Nintendo 64 up until the Wii are looked back upon so fondly? It's because it had all kinds of wacky Mario themed elements, had a ton of content and unlockables, and Mario Golf Advance tour released almost 2 decades on the Game Boy Advance, but I still go back to it because it left a lasting impression, as did the other Mario sports games from the Nintendo 64 to the Wii era. But that is simply not the case now, because as I stated before, I have never left a game feeling emptier than I did after playing Mario Tennis Aces. To summarize everything I said, free content updates are a good thing if the base game is complete, but when it slides into the fix it later territory, it ruins what could be possibly amazing games on par with stuff we'd see in the GameCube and Wii era. Heck, even the Nintendo 64 games had more content. I really hope more fans bring attention to this issue, because it's a major problem. I used to always buy Nintendo games at launch, but after Mario Tennis Aces, I have second guesses. I will only buy a game that I'm 100% confident in, that I know has enough content, and I'll know enjoy. I didn't buy Super Mario Party because I was worried it would lack in content, and it turns out I was right. Fans have and will catch on to this practice, and either wait for the games to be on sale when they have a satisfactory amount of content, or they'll just buy them used. If this issue keeps on being brushed off and not addressed, it could very well turn into my worst nightmare, which is Nintendo releasing Mario Kart 9 with only 20 characters and 16 tracks, then updating it later. I really hope that doesn't happen, but it very well could happen if this issue isn't addressed. So there you have it. This is why I think Nintendo's current approach to games in a lot of cases is awful, and I really hope it stops. So in the meantime, I'll be playing myself some Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, because Mario Golf Super Rush doesn't seem to be on par with other Mario Golf games, quite literally. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, and keep calm and da-da on.